So, welcome to this particular part of our galactic journey. And I'm really glad to be here with you. And like I said, there's several that, for one reason or another, weren't able to be with us today. So we're holding space for the entire group of our of our galactic journey classmates, and holding them in that circle of love with us. So let's just begin by going into that place of inner connection. And let your breath connect you to that greater power of you, that greater aspect of you. And sense yourself, that particle within the galactic family of which you are a part. The galactic family that had an agenda, had a reason for moving, birthing, if you will, from home source to have a specific kind of agenda. And whether that agenda was to experience curiosity, see what the different possibilities were, to really experience and feel yourself with joy, with that sense of deep connection to that inner guide, that inner knowing. All of us, meaning those he and earth experience, are part of a greater group that remains now intact, that extended from home for a specific experience. And those experiences were to really taste a little bit more directly aspects of home, of good, of love, joy, empowerment, inner knowing, creativity. And we're here just to acknowledge that amazing vision. To connect with that group of which we are one particle. And that particle energy is an energy of good, of love, of joy, of expansion, of curiosity. Just let yourself feel that connection. Like that greater group of families, are seeing and experiencing through your eyes, through your bodysuit. And it's been a long, long journey. So as we meet today, we meet as a particle of that greater family, aware, connected to them, the us that is the all of a specific agenda. And here we are with our feet on planet Earth, seeing with eyes differently than we were able to in that galactic world, but connected now to that family. And what is it that we're going to experience today? What is going to be shared today? Get a sense of their excitement, your curiosity, what stirs in you, what arises in the you that is them. We include in our circle all those who for various reasons are being called to journey elsewhere right now here on the planet. They are here with us too. We are glad to journey with them vicariously in their behalf as we are directly traveling in this bodysuit we inhabit. So we give thanks to Gaia, that energy beyond our planet, that is our planet. We give thanks for that energy we call sun, that is the portal for our life force. And we acknowledge there are changes happening that we are aware of and changes happening that we're not aware of. We are grateful to be here to share with one another, to hold the ships steady. So with that intention that we are not here alone, that we are here as a greater group, that our nature is that of all good. We set this circle for our experience and sharing today, calling in those who will be walking with us. And so it is. So as we're here to continue this galactic adventure, let's place ourselves in the circle. And as always, I think from the beginning of this particular circle, the intention was that, we recognize that we are here exploring, being shown, knowing, not knowing, not just out of curiosity, but out of intended purpose to align with that greater truth that we are and we know exists in our world. So let's just present, place yourself in the circle with whatever question or quality you feel you'd like to add. So I'll begin and then we'll just tag around. So I'm Sharon Raji Maynard here on Whidbey Island. It's going to be hot every day, a little bit hotter here on the island. That's a little unusual. Well, it's been unusual, so it's supposed to be unusual. And I guess I come with curiosity because of pulling this class together. It would come together, then it would go like pop up. So I'm here curious to see what it is we're going to be doing today, and glad to be here with you. And I'm going to pass to Arlie.
Good morning, I'm Arlie in Eastbourne, New Zealand, and the quality that I would like to bring to the circle this morning is joyful anticipation and eagerness to learn. That's it. That's what I want to bring. Something special is coming our way. So, and I would like to pass on to Christina.
Thank you, Arlie. I'm Christina in Switzerland, Zurich. And while I was tuning in, listening to you, to your words, Sharon, what I strongly felt was connection and updates. Like I felt like really like when you update the computer and the operating system to the next level, where then you started new you start your computer new, and there's so many things that changes, and that's what I was receiving, that we are updating all the time, and it changes all the while, and we have to adapt. So connection and adaptation. And I passed to Emma.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emma in Williamstown, Massachusetts, on a beautiful rainy day. And I was napping in my bedroom just before the call. There is a beautiful rhododendron bush in front of my house that has been entirely engulfed by grapevines, which are now creeping in through my windows. And so I could hear the patter of rain on all the different leaves, and it's just incredibly soothing. So I had a surprise yesterday, and it kind of rattled me, which is fine to be rattled a little. And so I want to bring not just soothing into the circle, but also holding on to the truth that we know about who we really are, no matter how we might be viewed by the larger culture. So I will call on Cinda because her camera is on.
Yeah, I pulled over so I could participate in this. So I'm en route from one location to the other, and I was in Washington and I'm headed back to Oregon, and it is hot and work is busy and full. And I launched this 7 days of grace, and then I took it down because I was advised that I wasn't ready. And the second I took it down, I had 2 people sign up. And now I just had a third person come in, and she said, can I catch up with the other 2? Because the other 2 were talking about it. So I'm catching her up this week. And then I'm starting another one with a complete full 7 set. And then I'm launching another 7 set on September 7th. I don't know, it's just beautiful. It is so fun, so beautiful. I'm lit. So yeah, great. All right, I'll pass it to Tara.
Thank you, Cinda. Well, we've been getting a lot of rain up here finally, so pretty excited. And but now it's going to be raining up north in Flagstaff, and I'm getting pretty burnt out at work. It's been really busy and lots of COVID starting again. So I really am looking forward to going to visit my friend up north. I'm leaving after the class. It's supposed to storm up there, so I actually like that. It makes me I miss it from back home in Illinois. So I'm looking forward to that and some relaxation. And Emma, you're already started napping today. So I want to bring in relaxation and monsoons, I guess. That'll be it. And how about Alexandra?
This is Alexandra. There's a saying in the Unity Church, the closer you get to heaven, the harder the devil works. So I've been feeling like that after the gum surgery and getting all the pus out of my body and blah, blah, blah. I was feeling much better. And then at 2 o'clock this morning, I broke off one of my main front teeth while having a snack. And so I spent a couple hours in the dental office, and then I got in my car and my air conditioning went off, and then I had a flat tire. And so I'm like, okay. So I barely made it to class today, and I guess the word I need right now is deliverance. Deliverance and victory over circumstances. How does that sound? Did anybody hear me?
We all heard you. We all agree. And let's see.
Thank God I have a sense of humor.
Yes. And I think, I don't know, but I think Christina, have you on Christina? You did, didn't you? I didn't write names down. I just wrote situations down. So I think we've all had a chance to speak. Thank you, Alexandra.
Okay, thank you.
So here we are gathered again. So before we go into whatever today's going to be, is there anything that you have, questions, insights, anything you want to put on the table before we see what is going to be on the table today? Christina.
I was going through my sorry. Oh, okay. I was going through my notes from last week's class today, and I didn't do what we were supposed to do. I didn't do the assignment, maybe also because I was in the tag class, which it flows in einander. You don't speak German. It goes within. It's together. But what I also noticed is that I kept thinking the whole week I have to revisit the class. I have to revisit the assignment, and I had resistance. I it's like, oh, I can do it later. Oh, I can do it late. And it's not procrastination. It really is like resistance. So yeah. I just wanted to share that.
That's I bet all of us could say we've had something similar. And for me, I remember there was a time that all of a sudden I can't remember what it was, kind of like a resistance. It was like a discounting thought. Da 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 ba 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 ba, and the discounting thought, and I can't remember now what it is for sure, but it would excuse me from taking action because it was a discounting thought, and it took me, I don't know, maybe a couple of days before I even stopped to recognize the discounting thought, as something to look at. And it's that, different ways of resistance. And some of what I've discovered, and I'm speaking to the choir here, I think, in other words, you all probably know this too, is that sometimes that discounting thought came from my own inner constructs, old constructs to stay safe, to stay small. Sometimes they were my creations. And then other times, out of the times, it was, first of all, it was from the outsiders' voices, the parasitic voices, to keep me offline, so they could come from both sources. And so I get what you're speaking of. It's like, and how many of us have lived, I have to say I have, how many of us have lived just in this unconsciously doing whatever this part of ourself is moving us around without consciously participating, without questioning and being aware of. And I think that's what's valuable about being together here in classes like this, is that we're encouraged to say, wait a minute, what is that? Bring that up and look at it. Yeah. So Emma.
Sharon, can you give an example of what a discounting thought is for you or for any of us?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it was more like I would have a thought, like the thought that and I wouldn't make myself even aware of the thought. It would come and go and turn me off to exploring without me even hardly knowing it was there. I think we've lived the majority of our lives, we've lived in a dumbed down state. A lot of it we've done ourselves as conscious beings. When you look at the tag, the galactic curriculum, and understand that we come from brilliance. I mean, we come from family source of brilliance, and for various reasons, and we were entrapped through lies. Usually, I'll speak to my family, which is a family of curiosity. Hey, you guys are doing great, but you haven't been out here long enough. Let us lead you. The truth of it is, we were a new family. We were a new experience in that galactic, and we were new. And so having this voice of supposedly big brother saying, let us show you a way so you can keep yourself going forward, seemed to be a smart thing to do. So the deception of, without understanding we needed to have a way of monitoring, we were naive, and so that crushing of those outsiders who have lived on our energy, who have intentionally sucked the energy life force for their good, who have intentionally kept us weakened, believing we aren't enough, And so here we are in this day and age, finally being able to have the structures, the insights, the changes, the help to come up out of that mess, of to even get back into saying, wait a minute, is that a voice of mine, my family's, outsiders? Is kind of where we are, all of us, really, and some not there yet. And then what do you do about that? It's really, as far as I can understand, this is really a very new time. Something that we had hoped we meaning our galactic family component, not everybody in our galactic families will birth on Earth. Probably, I don't know, maybe 5% of us. From each family group, there's a representation from each of those family groups, but not everybody in those groups will incarnate. That this is a choice. We've made a choice, specific mission. And so not everyone is going to incarnate. And the whole purpose, of course, is to wake up and get rid of the entrapping energies that came with that deception of, oh my gosh, let us help you. We'll be glad to help you. And all they really intended, the outsider types, were to cripple us, parasitically use us. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, Emma. Yeah. Welcome, Angelique. We each shared, and I don't know if Alexandra, if you got, oh yeah, you did, just what it is that you are wanting to bring to the circle, and where are you on the planet?
Hello, everyone. So sorry to be late. I'm just home from my mom's home and cleaning up the whole day again and again and again. So this is my focus for today and the next 2 weeks to come. And then we will close the door behind us forever and go into nature for a couple of weeks. What I bring into the circle is love. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Glad you're here.
And sorry to be late. It's not my habit.
No, you're usually one of the early ones opening the door. Glad you're here. So we're just, we're just taking time to say, what's on our mind. Is there a question that's up? before we decide what we're going to do today.
Mm.
Can I again?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I don't know if I managed to explain it, but I sometimes get really triggered when I hear the word outsiders and domination. And in my heart, it's kind of like, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that we went through or had to go through all that. And it's kind of like negating the fact that there are these forces, and this is a process. I am still in it and had to really try to accept that there is outside forces that influence us, not in a benevolent way.
Yeah.
And so every time I hear the words or read them, there is this reaction to it saying, oh no. I don't know how you guys, ladies, not guys, ladies, feel, but yeah. So I'm so glad that there is this space where it's held and spoken and, you know, remembered that there is these forces, and that, but also that we can do something about it.
I didn't have problems, Christina, hearing the words and accepting the concepts, because throughout the years, I've done a lot of reading about different things, but it was always called different names. So the concepts would be touched on, but they were all individual things. And Sharon has brought them together into one cohesive story. Like I read this book, Freeing the Captives, about, to make it really easy, let's just say demons, okay? And how they need to be freed, and you have to do this and you have to do that. Well, call them parasitic energy and bring it into, I mean, the concept was there, so it was easy for me to put it all together once Sharon tied these things together. I was lucky. That's what I'm saying. I was lucky.
I struggled with it also, Christina, at first when I encountered it, and had a lot of conversations with Sharon, and she was very patient. And you know, we're culturally taught not to believe in evil, because evil is so deeply associated with right-wing Christianity and the way that they've abused that term. And yet there's no other rational explanation for so much. You know, we've gone from, you know, from demonizing religiously to demonizing psychologically. But you look at a lot of behavior of people, or I look at a lot of the behavior of people on this planet, and psychology does not explain or excuse the behavior. So, but I really did struggle with it for a long time and needed to think about it and integrate it in a way that would make sense to me. You know, Arlie and I were both brought up Jewish, and I don't remember ever encountering concepts of evil in my religious education. And so I associated evil with Christianity, and didn't understand it as a concept that was obviously galactic. but bigger than that, and non-human. So that was my experience, if that's helpful to you.
Can I say something about it?
Yes, of course.
I don't have the difficulty with the word outsider because it seems somehow very familiar to me, and I don't know why, but it seems very familiar. And what happened lately in the family of origin, in my family of origin, is that there has been a huge outburst of dark energy after the death of my mom. And that's very dramatic. And I really see this as an energy which is not mine at all. It's not mine. It's not familiar. It's got really nothing to do with me. It's got to do with the ones who are exploding. And I can also see that it's not even totally their energy. It's really outside. It's really something from outside. So I decided to step out of it and to really leave it there. And what I did is that I scheduled an appointment with someone who is in Germany, in München, nearby München, Siegsdorf. And I go there on the 9th of September to have a private meeting with Stefan Hausner, and he is a family constellation person, and he's very internationally famous. And I know that he works with these energies and trauma, deep family trauma as well. So I do this because not only for me, but it's especially for my family of origin that there has to be leaving, as I can say it that way. There has to become more healing. And I am not able to do that on my own. I just can't do that on my own because I'm too close. I'm the mom, I'm the matriarch now, and I'm not recognized as that at all by the others, except for me, for myself. I take this role on me because it's me now. But before the family, if they ever will, can admit that, there has to be really changed something energetically. And that has to be done from a higher perspective and not only from me. So what I do now is that I really stay in my own environment and stay focused on the things I'm doing. And it's sometimes very hard because I feel these outsider energy really pouring at me, really coming close. And but I'm not afraid, and I just push them away. I just say, go away. It's not from me. Go away. And whatever, deep six. And I'm grateful that I learned this, and I made a big shift last week and changed my energy into a new field. So I'm busy birthing instead of dying. So that's a good thing. Yeah, thank you.
Very good thing, Angela. Very good thing. You know, a lot of the concepts, I didn't come from a family with any of these concepts. You know, it was, I mean, I came from a patriarchal system where what you do is stay in the kitchen, and that's what you do. And the patriarchal, they'll tell you what to do and how to do it. And fortunately for me, the men in my family were very caring, very compassionate, and they didn't put down women and they didn't abuse, but nevertheless, you know, they had a way of believing how the world was to work, and that meant that they were in charge. And for me, that was not. It wasn't that it was bad, you know. I had a lovely mother, father growing up until my father was killed. So when I began listening to voices, I'll say voices from beyond Earth in 71, it wasn't anything about healing. It was about me as my role, in my role as a mother. I think I had like 8 children, 7 children, maybe 6, some of us a lot by then, because that's what we did. And so I learned that I had an ability to ask a question into this vastness of heaven, if you will. I think maybe that's what I would call it at the time. To ask a question, only one, to be still and listen to the words that came into my mind. So I was very telepathic. So I was write the answers down until there were no more words, and then I could read what was spoken, and my discernment would be like, is this what I think Christ would say? Is this has the energy? That's how I would discern. I mean, is this coming from somebody who's going to entrap me, or is this coming from someone who's going to help me be a better mother? And so it wasn't, so from 71 until about 89, that was my connection to the unseen world, all under the model of patriarchy. And women are here to be mothers and support their husband. And it wasn't until, my husband started doing some weird things that rocked the boat, and eventually he was killed in a car accident, that I went, I was in a lot of pain, because all that I knew and all that I applied didn't take away the inner angst that I was feeling. All that I knew to do wasn't doing anything other than kind of helping me hold on until he was killed. When he was killed, now he was out of the picture. That put me in a different energy space, that it made it okay for me to ask questions to this voice that I'd been hearing now for 7 years, about how to raise my children, how to help them with that one thing or another, that I could then begin to ask questions for more responsibility for the family itself, for my role in the family and beyond. And so for me, I began from a place that God gives you something to do. And as a woman, you're under the thumb of the patriarchy. And if it's miserable, then the patriarchy will be punished. But you've got to keep obeying the patriarchy, or you will be punished. It was like a trap. Now that I think about it. And so it was, to think that somehow, I went to a class in, I think it was 85, and I was still getting information how to take care of my family. That was personal. I asked questions, and I would know what to do with my family, because that was my responsibility. And I went to a class in which I don't remember. I don't remember the name of it, but it was somehow I felt it would give me greater financial stability. And it was a Church of Religious Science class, but somehow I don't remember what it was. I thought it would give me better financial stability, because I was just hardly making ends meet, along with whatever other little jobs I could do, because I had 9 children, and you didn't have, there was no way I could make enough money and still pay for childcare. So when I went to that class, it was with the intention of figuring out how I could maybe be a little bit more stable in the world. Church of Religious Science, I'd never been there before. It wasn't my church, but it was around the corner from me. And so they had us write down what was, what were we facing? What was in our face? It wasn't working well. And of course it was finances. I mean, finances are crazy here. And what are you going to do about it? And it was like, well, I'll just keep doing what God at the time, my concept of God, tells me to do until God changes his mind and gives me something better. I mean, that was the mentality of the patriarchal system I was in. So when time came to share, these are all new people. I don't know who they are. They don't know me. I mean, they're kind, but I don't know them. So when it comes times to share, I know that if I share the answer that God gave me this to do, and I'll just do it well until God changes his mind, I knew that if I shared that answer, I would be applauded, because that's what my old congregation was all about. God's in charge, you obey, and then you'll be rewarded in some fashion, in some way. If you go off the cliff, you go off the cliff, but the person telling you to go off the cliff will be punished, but you'll be punished if you don't obey and go off the cliff, So when I shared that this is the job this is because God's told me to do this, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And yes, am I stuck? And I'm thinking, sit down, they're going to applaud. And then one little young woman said, "What God are you talking about?" And somebody else just laughed. I mean, it was like shock. And I'm glad that I didn't take offense, because I could have taken offense. These are new people. I'm a new person. They're laughing at me. Come on. So it was my wake-up call to say, oh my gosh, some people think differently than I think. And so it opened my door to say, what are they talking about? What do they mean? So the whole journey for all of us, I think, begins with some of those, what? Somebody else thinks something different than I do? And, what's really great is we can try on ideas. We can try on possibilities. And we can broaden our scope and it doesn't mean we have to, you see the world blue. I can listen to your world of blue and I can love it for you. And some of the blue I might want to try on, but maybe not all of it. And the same with my world of green or red or yellow. And so we don't all have to come to the same model of this is the way we're going to do life, but we can certainly share and see that there's bits and pieces that enhance or free us. And for me, I didn't take on this concept of there is a different stream of beings on the planet who come with their agenda is to use other people's energy. That's their agenda. And they have that right they did have the right to choose that agenda. And in choosing that agenda, they always have to find other people to use. And they're parasitic by nature. And they have really good skills of masking themselves and making you think you're the problem and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I didn't come to that point easily at all. And but when I tried it on and I differentiated this thought that I was having that, are you of the light? Are you of my light? And use that question to that thought. Are you of the light? Any being who was from what I call the parasitic agendas, I mean, they had the right to choose those, would say to me, well, maybe, or they would say no. I mean, and I learned to, and so that's where I came to understand that there is those amongst us who are parasitic by nature, they look and act, and they're not necessarily in physical bodies. A lot of it is energetics and attachments. That's what I've come to understand. And that's part of what in this course we're trying on, that idea as one idea. Say, maybe that's what's kept me trapped. I had one woman who came, and she was very brilliant, and yet her life was just continually falling apart, and she couldn't build her life. And so she wasn't necessarily an energetically focused person. I mean, she had a lot of intuitive abilities, but she was very college degrees. She was very aligned with academia and very, very smart. So I don't remember how she came to me, and I said, well, let's examine some of these underlying possibilities. And she said, well, about beliefs and who you are and identities. And she said, well, you have to be really careful. I said, why is that? She said, well, because I know, and she's kind of whispering this because she would never say this in academia, I know that I am the queen in this world over here. So I can't, there's certain things I can and certain things I cannot do because I'm the queen, and I have to keep presenting myself as a queen over here. Now this was totally in consciousness. It wasn't like going into a trance or meditation. I didn't ask her how she came to that awareness, but she did. I said, no problem, no problem. So we worked together, and I had her to step into a meditative place and journey from being connected here on this planet as a being of light who came on an agenda of light, whatever that was. And I can't remember if hers was empowerment or whatever. And here you are on this journey. And now look over into that world, go into that world like it's a stage, and go over there, and let's explore that a little bit. And she did, and she's kind of in a moderate trance. And as she went into that place, she said, oh yeah, there I am. Like she's the queen, and everybody's doing her bidding. And then all of a sudden she goes like, oh my gosh, they own me. They're using me to keep others under their thumb. I'm as much under their thumb as they are, as these other minions are. I mean, it was mind-boggling for her, because she had felt like she couldn't even, there were certain things she could or could not do because she was the queen. And when she realized that the queen was an artificial entrapment, then she could look at her whole energy field and life differently. So, there has been so many years where we have, as divine souls, been entrapped for a lot of reasons. And so it has been painful to connect to our greatness, because there was no way to get out from under the entrappedness of it. And so I'm just saying that to us because of Christina, that it's not at all unusual, really, to go like, oh my gosh, no way, I'm not going to do that. And you don't have to. But at some point in time, you may want to, and say, well, why, tell me why you don't want, tell me why that is difficult, talking to that aspect of yourself. We've created a lot of aspects of ourselves in order to deal with what we've gone through, what we've lost, what we know, to be able to just say, what is it that you're holding that I need to know from you? And so a big part of this journey is being able to hear those parts of ourselves that made decisions that may keep us safe, but maybe it's not needed any longer. That there's other ways we can be more expansive. So here we are today. Anything that pops before we move into whatever is going to show up next?
Yeah. Um,
So,
can I? Oh, sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Tara. I'll wait.
I just wanted to share with you something that I've been doing. I think back during COVID, you know how they were doing all those little news reports that will flash on your phone and you can agree with having them sent to you and ding your phone. I did it during COVID, obviously, because I need to know all the updates for work, but I forgot to get rid of it and it gets really annoying. And but then after learning some of this stuff, I decided to leave it on because now I just get reports from stuff going on in Phoenix. And so it's always, these horrible, so and so was shot, police officer does this. So I just leave it on. And when I see the little thing pop up on my screen, I just, deep six, whatever thing has happened. And so I just leave it on. And I just, every time something shows up, they find a little girl, abducted or whatever, I just do that. So that's kind of, hopefully that's working, but I thought that may be a good idea and it's constantly going, but that's just an idea. I don't know if anyone else would want to do that in their area.
It's a good idea. Because we've been kind of told that it takes a mass amount to shift everything, and that's not true. It takes one voice to shift. It takes one voice to shift, and that voice doesn't even have to be heard. Like we've heard you, Tara. That's really great sharing. That's an idea. And we've heard you, but what you were doing without having said it to anybody else, powerful.
I just didn't know if it works. I mean, I don't know if I have to do it, X number of times or do a statement for each thing, that occurs, because I don't have time to do a reality statement for each thing. I just deep six it. I say it once or twice, maybe 3 times in a row when I see it, and that's it.
Yeah. The thing to remember that the world this earth functions on as you believe. What is it you believe? And our belief structures have been so crippled to shut us down. And so so how many times do we have to say it is part of? How many people do I have to have on board is part of the crippling? And you are a divine being with a voice connected to the divine who is greater than you are, And all it takes is for you to go like, deep six that, connect that. You speak and all creation answers you. And if you ever begin to doubt that, then just whatever in me is doubting my authority, deep six, whatever is causing me to doubt. We keep strengthening our own presence as a divine representation, part of a family of wholeness. And so I don't know if that might help you answer how many times. One time. If you feel, if you doubt, you just say, whatever this doubt is, deep six it, move it out. I mean, we keep strengthening our presence as that divine pillar of a family greater than us. Angelique?
Yeah. Listening to your story, I come to the point that there's still a part in me who cannot believe that there's so much darkness in my family of origin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, really.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think I make it up, but I don't.
Mm.
I just don't, because I know it's true. And is that unusual that there is so many who are really not from the light, working from the light in one family? And can you give an answer how come? Because I wonder.
Well, every situation is unique, for sure. And we have, I mean, when you look at the world, I am living in the Pacific Northwest. I'm living on an island. I have connections with wonderful people all over the world by way of internet. I go down and get a coffee or have an ice cream or whatever out in the community, and I'm treated well. You know, my life is pretty darn stress-free most of the time, right? That isn't true for everyone out there in the world. But the whole purpose of where we are right now in the world is that not all of us are in intense situations. And so some are in situations that are more intense than others. And some are in situations that are deeper rooted than others. But if you consider that we're all from divine families, we all have of various degrees through the lifetimes we've had on this planet, interactions, entrapments, attachments from those outsiders whose intention is to use our energy. That's their intention. And the divine family's intention is to survive long enough to get free of it. To get free of it. And if you are attached and burdened and taking on more of the pattern, you look like you're sicker than everybody else. It's not that you are, it's you have taken on more of the garbage in this lifetime. Why? To make it seen and known by others who are less burdened, who can then help with the removal. You know, when you're in that mess, when you're in such an entrapped state, it's almost impossible for you to do anything other than maybe put one foot in front of the other and eat well, maybe eat well. And some of us we're not carrying that kind of burden. So we're here not to say there, but for the grace of God go I. I mean, that's how we've lived. But for the grace of God go I. You're the problem. Oh my God, keep away from me. We are here together. And just like Tara, I mean, she hears it and she acts. She hears it, she commands. And so we are in, from what I understand, since 2000, that's when really the galactic world opened up within the Mayan calendar space. And that's when my work really started to be more active also. So there's a correlation. And so there are some of our family members who are in the patterns more deeply than others. And some of them have taken on those patterns, probably not knowing how awful it would be. But those of us who aren't in the patterns, it's our responsibility to see it and name it and have it removed. And that's what we do, you know, within the tag system, is recognize we are clear enough of it that we can have it removed. And it doesn't hurt at all for me to see something and sense that something's off and call in the tag team, call in the galactic team and say, clear that space. Maybe there's only 1% there. But if I don't clear it next week, there might be 10% there. You know, we're in this thing together. And yes, in some situations, there's a lot more entrenched energy than others. And we're just not giving up on getting the energy removed and getting the corrections made. And some of the families, you know, some of the individuals who took on a lot of the burden to show us the entrapment may leave the planet early because it has impacted them and they've already done their mission. They've shown us the entrapment. They've shown us the pain. We've hopefully been able to bring in the PTO, bring in the teams to clear the energies causing their pain. And they may then at that point choose to leave the physical body. Right now, the purpose of this earth is to get rid of the outsiders and then to live the divine mission that we had chosen. I don't know if that answers your question, Angelique.
Partially, yeah.
Yeah.
Not totally, but I guess that takes some time.
Yeah, it can take some time.
Yeah.
And you know, for us to stay in that space of what is mine to do, what is it mine to do, you know, it's not, I would assume that it's not yours to get into the mess and wrestle the alligators. That's
Mhm.
not yours to do. Yours to, you know, you've tried that wrestling and the alligators, it can destroy you.
Mhm.
What's yours to do is to say, oh, there's alligators there. The alligators make our pond really awful. I am stepping out of the pond and I'm strengthening myself as I also say, clear the pond. I'm strengthening myself, turning over, clear the pond to those in spirit who can do the work. But I'm focused on building a life without those entrapments that had been part of my family. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, it does. It's just surprising.
Yeah.
And it's really obvious that these things come into the open when someone dies.
Mm-hmm.
It has been really covered all the time, and I mean, I could see it, but nobody could, and now it's in the open totally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's disturbing and very chaotic. Yeah. So not to me to just clean it up, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And the point of power you have is just to call in those beings of light who can clean up, those beings of light who can take on the job, because you
Yeah.
have the authority, because you're in a physical body, and especially because you're in a physical female body, you can basically say that's out of alignment. Whatever needs to be done, bring in the teams to get it done, and then let go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm doing that, but it's that I still am physically very, very tired, and that makes it confusing sometimes. You know, I'm working here and I'm working there, and yeah, all I really want to do is to sleep. That's exactly what I love to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, but there's work to be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Arlie, I noticed you're unmuted.
Yeah, I am muted back when I thought I had my question all formulated, but now it's not so clear to me. I was going to ask a question about healing those who have already passed in order to get rid of the root, the beginning, a family trail of energy that is continuing on this plane now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I think I've been doing, do you hear the big doubt there? Is going into those, not me going, sending the SRR into the 5 below layers to work on family members who I think touched on the darkness that Angelique just brought up, had definite tags of that. And if doing that healing in the past will carry forward, kind of like when we journey back to the villages and teach the women something new. Do the same principles apply? I think that's the question. I think that's it.
What I have found in working with the dimensions, I call them the negative dimensions of the outsiders, because theirs is a heavier frequency, and there's only 5 worlds that are part of those who attach themselves to our energy, where we have 7 worlds and then the 8, so 8 worlds including Earth, that our families, the 7 different families, have traveled through, had experiences within. Those family members, our family members who have been trapped and taken into the negative worlds of the outsiders, there's 5 of those worlds as I understand it. Okay. And so what I have yet to find any of those family members, because they've been kidnapped, they've been sacrificed. I mean, they're really, really, really damaged. And yet their stream of so here they are in the negative, but they're still connected to us energetically as we're trying to do our work. And it's only been in the last probably year and a half that we've really seen the extent and been able to get into this world, probably even in the last month, even more. Okay. What I'm finding is that all the family members that have been taken from our own extension, our life extensions, and kidnapped into and held captive in the parasitics worlds are not, it's like they're cocooned. I mean, their energy is so damaged that they are cocooned, really, really protected. It's almost like bringing them back with a casket, covered with a flag, to be honored and respected as they move past our world extension and taken right back to home source. None of those that have I yet found, any of those that are brought back into a live stream to join us in the live stream that we're a part of.
Right.
And so when the model that I was shown was how now they're taking those who have been killed or died in some fashion in the Indian schools here in the United States, and the tribes are going back and taking those bodies out, putting them in buffalo skin within their caskets and returning them home. It's like that's what we're doing, but we're returning them home to ultimate home. They aren't joining us on our journey we really are on a journey of reclamation, getting back to what we had intended before we got sidetracked and bushwhacked by this outside stream called outsider parasitics. Does that answer your question, Arlie?
Yes, no. Okay. The way that I see it is that SRR brings them up in like a mason jar. And as soon
Say that again.
SRR brings these damaged souls up in a protective container. I see it as a mason jar. Okay, so nothing can hurt them.
Let me stop you just a minute, because SRR is a term probably not everybody knows here in this group. And so we have in the healing system that TAG was, where all this was discovered, as I was being shown what we needed to do to heal and bring our galactic families back into resonance of wholeness. It is contained within the TAG's healing system, right? And it was about maybe 4 or 5 years in that I had a group appear in my room They were like dots of light. And they basically said, we're here, we can help we can help you with these out of balance. I didn't even call them outsiders. I just knew they were troublemakers. We can help you with those if you'd like us to. And so I turned to my team, because I always go back to the original team that know what they're doing, and they're trusted. And I said to them, do you know these gods of light beings? They said, we do. We suggest you listen to them. They said, we are from outside of your galactic families. We're outside of the injury, but we still can have the ability to discern the frequencies of those who come with parasitic nature, what I call the outsiders, because they're not part of our original plan. They have their own plan, and it's to use other people's energies. And so I just called them outsiders. So this particular group said, we know how to remove those outsiders and have the authority to remove those outsiders in ways your family, they don't, because they've lost their autonomy with an outsider's presence. It's like we had become slaves to this outsider presence and given away our power and been trapped and fought and a whole bunch of stuff. But we never let them in. So we maintain the ability to discern and to have the authority to move them back to their original home. And they appeared as dots of light. And so when my team said, yes, we suggest you listen to them, and they said, we can help you move them out, because we still have that authority, but we need your permission, somebody's permission in this family to say, yes, help us. So we put together, and this may be what a lot of you already know, but nevertheless, I have to go through it. So we put together a group that had 3 components. One was a component, I call them the Platonians. I mean, they're from our family stream, but they still have an energy of Platonian energy, like really pretty strong. We had the component of the tag healers, who could change and bring heal energy. And we had this outsider group all together in what we called the PTO. And it doesn't mean anything. It's not an acronym. I don't know. I just like PTO. So it is a team. So when we called in the PTO teams, right now we call them the PTO teams, the space is held solidly by the Platonians so that those energies couldn't slip away, because they were very slippery. So they wouldn't slip away. The outsiders that were the dots of light could go through and identify those energies that did not belong to a divine family stream, that had the agenda to use others' energies. They're parasitic by nature. They could identify them, mark them, and then move them, because we gave them the authority to move them back to their home of origin. And then the tag team could then come in and start healing and balancing the energy field. So that was the PTOs. What we understood when and we've been using them for a long time. They're very much part of this work. But when we started when 2 months ago, when this opened up these other worlds, they said, we now need to go in there. We now have permission. You got there's stability within the galactic families of which we're a part. There's stability, there's commitment. Now we can retrieve those family members who, through blood sacrifice, through kidnapping, those were the 2 major ways that they literally took parts of our family groups and kidnapped them away, like imprisoned them in those negative regions. It's now time that we can remove them. So the PTO helps with that, and the SRR team specifically goes in to search out the energy of our family members, and they have they have hazmat suits. I mean, they're very protected. It's a really dense area. So the SRR team and the PTO team are what can go into those areas, but specifically the SRR team to remove any energy vibrational stream of one of our divine families of those 7 family groups that have been kidnapped away. It's like taking, like they're doing here in the United States, digging up the coffins, even if there's if it's a coffin, digging up the coffins, blessing them, wrapping them in buffalo skin to take them back home. That's what is happening with the SRR team, and then with the help of the PTOs in those 5 really dense outsider regions.
So just as getting the bones and repatriating them helps heal the tribe,
Yeah.
Going and getting our family members, now let's bring it down to individual family members, my family members, say, brings the healing up through my family line and the generations since that person was taken.
Yeah.
As well as helping the bigger picture, because we're all pictures, we're all bits of the bigger picture.
Yes, it's a whole new, just in the last couple of months, it's a whole section, and I've known about them. I've gone into those worlds like one by one, but we are no longer doing one by one. We are removing them totally. It's like going in and taking all of them out. So yeah, identifying our family members who were literally kidnapped away in various ways, held prisoner in those negative regions, that therefore the vibrations from them, their calls from them to us have been dulled or not even open because we had other things we had to do. We couldn't even begin to address that depth of the woundedness. So the fact that we are getting them out, moving to different places is like, it's a really big, huge step forward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. I really felt that a thing was happening, but it's always good to have confirmation, Sharon.
Yeah. And what my guides have said to me, sometimes we just have to make up a story that makes sense. I mean, it may not be exactly the way it is, but if it's close enough that it makes sense and anchors it into our brain and this part of the stream, that's good enough.
Oh my God, I love that. How much do I love that?
I don't know. I don't know.
A lot.
Good.
Thank you.
Did you tell us what the SRR stands for? Like the do you know?
Yeah, I do, but if I can remember, because I always just say SRR. It's only been about a month and a half since we've been using that.
Search, rescue, and restore.
Yeah, search, rescue, and restore. That's the job of that team. Search, rescue, and restore.
Thank you.
It's like they're the ones finding those aspects of our family that were captured and entrapped and used in the negative worlds, which is extremely, I can't even imagine what that may have been like. And their job, that's why they absolutely are in hazmat suits and restoring our family. And that's why they don't even come back. It's like they can't even you can't touch. They are so sensitive. And so it's almost like as they pass, our family members are in respect of them, but they are taken right back to home source. It's like there's whatever their experience here on this extension is finished. They're back home and to beginning, not to any of the 7 families at all.
I'm sure that's traumatizing for the rescuers. I mean, I'm sure we all know what it's like just to stand by someone that you can feel that negative energy. You know how you get those goosebumps and you just know something's not right and you just want to get out of there. I can't imagine being surrounded by that in such a large capacity like that. So
hazmat suits for sure.
Sharon, it kind of explains a little bit about why so many people think that horror and violence is a form of entertainment. It's like some of the energy from those streams, like these are our divine family members, and so we have not the direct experience, but the indirect experience, and that gets fed into our own experience in a, in a way, There's authors who I really respect that I can't read them because they focus so deeply and heavily on horror, and as I'm listening to you talk, it's like I think that might be part of where that comes from.
I don't think it's our family members that enjoy the horror. I think so. Feeding on our family members absolutely
Yeah.
do horror. I don't know. You probably have had experience of people that you know that drink alcohol a lot,
Yes, actually.
and they
People like that.
and they and there are times when they know they're not in the body. When they stop to think about it, it's not them in the body even.
Right.
And the sorting out and clearing out. I mean, we've been a really mishmash of our divine being on the agendas and the love, etc. And then the takeover energies that manipulate have had free reign up until very recently to just use and manipulate minds and all of those things. That's coming to a close, but who we are as divine beings has been really crippled.
Thank you.
Tara?
I have a request from everyone. I am not, it's bizarre because I'm not really someone to be interested in reading like a biography about someone necessarily, unless someone I'm interested in or know, but for some reason I was drawn to reading this book about a prisoner that was born in prison in North Korea, and he was the only one, I guess, that's escaped. And he made it to America. And I think the UN, I mean, they know everything that's going on there, but they've been having court hearings and different things from other people that have affected. But I think the other effectors are more or less like guards and things that have escaped instead of prisoners, because obviously you can't get out of there alive. But this gentleman had an amazing story how he got out. And one of the judges was saying, the judge himself was in one of those prison camps, a different type. It wasn't a lifetime one like this boy was born into, but, and he was also in Auschwitz. And he said that the conditions in this camps are worse than Auschwitz. And the stuff that I read was just horrifying. Like I was just completely oblivious of knowing really what is going on there and how severe. So I'm wondering if there's something that we can do, like just as a collective group, even if we just all on our own, just send, deep six or something to the situation, because it's just so many people out there, and the traumatizing stuff are the most horrifying things I've ever heard of in my life. And I didn't even know. I don't think a lot of people really are aware of really how bad it is there. So. And it's just interesting how I ended up reading that book, because that's not something I would pick. I just don't know why I was drawn to it. So there must be a reason.
Ideas?
I mean, we often do work where we pick one individual as a, what's the word, Sharon?
They're a surrogate?
Yes, thank you. As a surrogate for others. And we know that what's happening like I didn't know about this either, but if we take something that we're aware of, like Auschwitz, or what happened in Rwanda or what happened in Cambodia, right? Like we take something that has an emotional resonance for us as a surrogate for everything that is happening on Earth right now, and then back through time, and then kind of put that deep six guardian circle energy around it.
Okay, good point.
And perhaps sprinkle the North Korean landscape with Tesla towers to broadcast widely, continually, when we individually aren't on the case. Deep six and healing.
And what's coming up for me is just to take the book and all people connected to that book that, you know, are in the story, but then also PTSD, because when people read things like that, they get traumatized. You know, you go into shock and you think, oh my God, is this possible? So it's a kind of a trauma. So just maybe working with the book and everything connected to that specific book and the people that are involved, and read it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Those are good ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, when horror movies are watched and someone else presents their images of the horror, it's one thing. When you are reading about it and you get to create in your own mind a personalized how horrible that would be, you probably need to do some work on yourself and get rid of the tags of energy from reading this book. Good on you for making it through the book and bringing this information to us. And now clear yourself from the PTSD that Christina brought up.
We're here to take action. And the first action is to get back to our divinity. We never intended to be so entrapped. That was never our intention. We were just too naive to stay boundaried. And so through our own naivety, we have become entrapped. And we are now in a place that we have restored and connected to the restoration of especially female authority to speak and be acted on. We've reconnected with that authority. And so everything that's out there in the world that is reflective of any kind of damage, any kind of lies, any kind of anything, here we stand in this circle saying, whoa, I hold the divine voice of authority to recognize what is not whole, love, good for all based. And in any way I choose, you know, whether you just say PTO, remove that energy. Surround that group, remove it. Surround that camp, remove the energy. We have that authority because we are in a female body. It was intended that souls who come into a female body would have the right to hold the vision for the community of good, of interaction, and to call in all the powers of beyond us to eliminate what had and does entrap us, right? And so it doesn't surprise me, Tara, that here's a book you wouldn't normally read and you read it and it touched you, and here you are saying to us, this is going on in the world. And what do we say in this group? Each one of us go like, not in our world. Absolutely not in our world. And in whatever way I hold that with the right of authority as a soul connected to the divine in a female body who was designed to say, no, not going to take that one. This is the path. We won't be deceived. This is the path. I'm stepping into that authority and say, clear, remove. In whatever way we each do. So it's true for those in our world, those around us, and those we read about or see about, because, you know, there are some of our family members who have volunteered to let that outsider parasitic control energy manifest through their experiences. So we will see it. The law says it will manifest. It might begin with a thought, it might begin with an idea, it might have an emotion, but eventually, if we don't clear it, it shows up in physical. And when we see it or sense it in any of those, you know, it might be something we read about and we go like, not in our world, deep six, move that out. It might be a story we read, whatever is in that story within that situation. My command is it get cleared, parasitics out, you know. And why are we doing it? Is to get ourselves back to our original divine reason for extending from home, to experience love, to experience peace, to experience beauty, to experience leadership, to experience those aspects of home. And we're kind of in that cleanup process. Anything else, Emma?
I'd like to bring in my experience from yesterday as a way of saying, here's something that happened, clear it out. I think most of you know that I went in to get diagnosed for autism. It's not something I would normally do. It was, you know, like I kind of, you know, being who I am, I did the research. I was like, okay, yes, this is real. But I felt like it was important for me to get diagnosed. And so I did like a boat ton of tests. And yesterday I had my appointment with the official diagnosis. And yes, I am autistic, which I think is important. I think it's going to be important in my work somehow. But you know, psychologists, they can't just, I mean, here's just like report. So yeah, autism, and ADD, often diagnosed together. Social anxiety, which is part of the whole autism thing. Generalized anxiety, same thing. Major depressive disorder as well. When you're feeling disconnected from the world, it's a little bit depressing when you're not hearing it. But it was like, okay, this is good. But they gave me, I don't know if you guys have heard of the MMPI, Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. It's 537 true or false questions that you do online. And I took this test and I was really troubled by it. I was really troubled by the assumptions that I could feel behind these questions, the value systems that they were trying to impose by asking these questions, and knowing that if you gave the wrong answer, that you were being diagnosed with something. And I called the psychologist back today And I said, I want that part taken out of my report. Because I walked out of there feeling like, I was like, okay, dude, totally, I'm good. I'm autistic. This makes sense to me. It explains a lot of my life. So it says, Emma experiences a great deal of stress following a period of acting out behavior, including excessive use of alcohol or drugs. I do not use alcohol or drugs, but here's this test saying that I do. Rather immature and impulsive, shows little genuine guilt over her present behavior. What kind of guilt am I supposed to be feeling? Her relationships are superficial. She is quite manipulative and may use others for her own gratification. She's hedonistic and acts out without due concern for the feelings of close friends or relatives. This is, and you know, this is, this is so wrong that it's horrifying. Now, I'm really fortunate. I have my degree in psychology. I know about the MMPI. I know how messed up it is. And it still really threw me off balance. I saw the guy who I've been working with, his attitude towards me had changed dramatically from our one-on-one conversations and doing the fun little testing together to him getting the results of this thing. And there are people all over the world who are being judged by this test and being told. I mean, you talk about, what was the word you used at the beginning of our conversation today, Sharon, that I asked you about? Discounting. Talk about a discounting experience. And I called him and I said, I want that taken out of my report because it is wrong. And I don't know what it's based on other than a really messed up test that was designed in the 1930s using farmers Methodist farmers from Minnesota. And that is how they diagnose mental illness in this country. And it is, so kind of like you were just talking about, Sharon, like, this is not me, I know that. But there are plenty of people who do not have that self-awareness and self-confidence to be able to say, this is not me and I know it. And they're buying into this outsider language that diminishes them. Who would I be if I walked out of that believing those things about myself? And so just kind of like what Tara was saying, you know, in terms of sending that energy out to say, you know, what we say now, you know, to victims of abuse, we believe you. Like, this is not who you are. You are divine. You are magnificent, right? Like, this is one of the most damaging language that I have ever heard referred to me from my family of origin. So I feel like you were saying, Sharon, I'm kind of like I did this, you know, like you said, Tara, not something you would usually read. I'm like, I know about psychology. I left the field, but I felt compelled to go back and get this testing. And I think part of it was to bring awareness to this abuse that is being perpetrated for decades now, primarily on women, saying that you're not acting like a middle class farmer from Minnesota in the 1930s, dude. So you are mentally ill.
So Emma, what would you do with that?
Well,
What you know, what would you do with that test? You've in addition to what you've done for yourself.
oh, in addition, like, so, I want that test to be gone. Like, I do not want it used anymore. And so to call in and have it removed from psychology, and I'm going to start by speaking to this psychologist who I worked with to say, you are using this test and it is a terrible disservice to the clients who come through your door. You know, and I really want you to consider doing it. Yeah, I want you really to consider about the ethics of using this test for diagnosis. And that's just on the physical level, but then to go into, you know, using all of these different tools on saying this kind of testing is unacceptable.
Right. Right. So what is the name of it or the acronym for it?
It's Minnesota Multiphasic PI, Personality Inventory. And it has been the standard psychological testing since the 1930s.
So what we can do, because whenever you see something, I mean, this is hugely entrapping. You can see it's hugely entrapping.
Yes.
Definitely, it's not designed to free. I mean, you could ask, you know, but it's pretty apparent where it's coming from. And so to be able to, for me, the same thing, encapsulate that. Do ceremony on it. I'll do ceremony on it. Right. We're going to call in all of those beings because we're connected with teams of beings way beyond Earth and up into the galaxies who have the same commitment we have, which is to absolutely identify and remove everything that has entrapped us as divine beings, little or big. That is what they're there for. We know some of them, we probably don't know all of them, but the purpose is to eliminate that which has tainted and entrapped our galactic families of light. And using this test as a surrogate, giving them permission wherever else there are those tests to connect them, to bring them together, to take them not back to their home of origin, but to take them back to that place where falseness is absolutely eliminated. It's like totally eliminated, you know, wherever it can, to eliminate it totally. I mean, that is what we as souls in female bodies are for right now. We're not here to have babies. I'm sorry, that wasn't what we initially said we would do. We were here to clean up the mess so that any babies that came didn't have to be trapped.
Right.
Of course, we didn't get that done. So we in female bodysuits, we know we have the right and the assignment to identify anything that is corrupting, entrapping as such, and have it removed back to its home of origin, out of our space, with the healers to come in and heal what which has been damaged. And we don't have to figure out, it might be that 10% of this test is good.
Right.
It's not okay. The 90% that's not okay will probably cause the whole test to dissolve.
Yeah.
I want to add that we do need, when thinking about these tests, to make sure that we add the S onto the end of tests. I just heard a story on NPR about the psychopathy test that's given to prisoners to decide if they're ready for release, heavily weighted towards their adolescence. So they've now spent 30 years in prison. They are no longer the person who did those things in their adolescent, but because they did them, they're still diagnosed as a psychopath. It's still following them. And these people are being denied parole based on that. So definitely add the S onto the end of
all kinds of tests like that then. Yeah, that is a surrogate for those
Yes.
tests,
Right.
the entrapping tests.
Thank you, Arlie.
So here we are. And you know what the truth is too, I'm going to say this because of Christina, you know, when you align with your divine sense of your good, your you know, you've kept yourself in that space. When you make a decree, like you could make a decree that check out that tests, and anything that is entrapping in that test, anything that is not in alignment to good in that test, I want it cleared. I mean, it's like being able to send out a declaration based on whatever it is that's over there that seems to be out of whack. Check it out and go for whatever is out of whack. We in this physical body do not have the capacity to be able to know the whole picture. So if we see something that is a sense of out of whackness, if you will, we have the authority though to say, check that out. I don't know what's going on over there, but something I think there's something over there that's not in alignment to good for all. Then those who have the ability, the sensitivity, and the authority can act on our words and do what is appropriate to again bring all energies into that space of what is expressions of good, of home, of source. Okay. Well, this was an interesting and good time. I hope you no wonder I was trying to put an outline together. It wouldn't come together, and it would be here's a piece and then it would be gone, and here's a piece and it would be gone. So you guys we created something really quite magnificent here. And even in our conversation, strengthening that we are here holding light for light. Our families are of light. Our families are various shades out of light. Anything that is not that, move it back to where it belongs, you know, and always good to be together. Anything else that you'd like to say before we close the circle?
I want to honor Emma, really. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for being there to listen.
Really want to honor.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is an extraordinary experience to have a circle of women to share this with, and to know that I'm held with respect and kindness.
Yes.
We love you, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you for your courage. Really. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Being willing to say our vulnerabilities expands what we're able to do as a circle. If we hold our secrets inside and our fears inside and our angst inside, the circle cannot do the work out there and the cleaning in the same way,
And who knows, maybe in the near future, someone else is picking up your line of thought.
Yeah.
And what we did here, and maybe it's gonna come out and other people will saying no more of that. Yes.
So true.
Yes.
So true. And collapse time so that it doesn't take years and years and years and years. So Cindy, are you home now?
I am not home, but I am in a parking garage. So
You are a little dark there.
yeah, sorry.
Quiet. Good.
This was a fascinating call. Wow.
I have a question for you ladies. I don't know, this has been kind of in the back of my mind and I don't know why it keeps popping up. So I'm not sure if it's something that should happen, but my youngest daughter is a very gifted artist and she's really loves, and now she's making jewelry and she makes more money doing that than working, I think. But for some reason, it came to my my mind that I was thinking it might be kind of interesting if we could see if she could make us something like a charm with some meaningful crystal or something to represent our whole team. And then, you know, each of us have like a little something that Sharon can put energy in or something that kind of represents all of us or something, or I don't know, something for our Gaia. What do you think of that, Sharon?
I think that we really need to speak those ideas into the circle. I think it sounds really like a great idea. I don't know if it'd be something that she'd want to make available, like something that we could each order from her. But it, you know,
Yeah.
Like a sigil, like a sigil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something little, some little simple thing. I don't know. I just didn't know if anyone would think that was a good idea. So I just thought I'd mention it, but it's something that popped into my head. I wouldn't even know what kind of a crystal would be good for all of us, you know, for protection or whatever. But I think Sharon might be the most connected in maybe knowing what would be good for all of us.
yeah, I think that we could certainly. I think that's a really great idea.
Okay.
Or you let her choose,
I
and she might choose exactly what we need.
She
Oh,
would.
That's
you
true,
know.
too.
She would.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to her about it and see.
Let's see how
Thank
she
you.
how she feels. That would be-
Okay.
Besides, we have you know, we always have holidays coming up, and we can always create one, and we could do a little ceremony in with each of ours. So
That's
yeah,
true.
see how she feels. I think it's really important for us to speak what it is that's coming to us, because in I don't know, you know, in my growing up as a female, it was often like, don't say that, that doesn't make sense, you know. No, in this circle, what comes up, you don't have to understand or know where it fits or why you're being drawn to speak it. But I thank you for bringing that forward, Tara.
Sure.
Okay. Until next week, and blessings on all of you. And it's wonderful to be with you in Circle, where we have this opportunity to deepen ourselves, and not just ourselves, but ourselves together. So, until next week. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.